Hello, am I audible? Hello, can you hear me? Is the audio fine? Okay, I think we'll start off now. You all can hear me, right? Can somebody type it in the chat box if I'm audible? Alright. So I think we'll start. So my name is Fairuz and I belong to Kerala. I belong to Trivandrum district in Kerala, and I've been preparing for UPSC for quite some time. About my journey, my optional was English literature. Okay, I think I'm audible and visible now. Okay. So my optional was English literature. I had also given the exam with Malayalam literature as my optional in my previous attempt. This has been my second mains in my sixth attempt, and of course second interview. So my previous interview was in the very first attempt. I hope the audibility and the visibility factor is fine. Is it fine? Can we go forward? Alright, fine. So let's start. Okay. So about my journey, again, this was my sixth attempt at the UPSC and my second interview. So I started my preparation right after graduation. I did schooling from Trivandrum. I did schooling till 12th, and after that I took English honors for my graduation. So my graduation subject was in English, and then after graduation I started off UPSC preparation. Okay, I started off UPSC preparation after graduation, and in the first attempt I could clear prelims and mains and went up till the interview stage. Then I missed prelims in the next couple of attempts, and then I cleared prelims in this attempt and cleared the whole exam. So that was my journey, if I would put it into words. So, and my optional was English literature. I started off preparation. I had joined a PCM course in an institute here. Okay, so I joined a PCM course in an institute here and followed their strategy for the PCM preparation. That was just 1 second. I'll just switch off the fan. Okay. I think we'll continue now. Okay, so I'll take the questions one by one. Okay, or I'll give a brief strategy first. So with regards to prelims was, I think, the toughest stage for me because I missed a couple of prelims attempts, and it was not very easy stage for me compared to mains. Mains, comparatively, I had cleared both the mains that I had given, so that was fine for me. And regard to prelims, I would suggest that my basic strategy was, since I could not clear multiple prelims, my strategy this time was to focus on the basics, focus on polity, history, geography, environment, etc., and then cover the basics up, and then give the take PYQs, focus on the PYQs, and then give the exam. That was my whole strategy this time. I think like I'm getting comments from the team to adjust my camera. I hope that this is fine. Is it? Is it fine? Okay, fine. So we'll continue. Sorry for all that hassle. I think this is my first time doing live, so I really do not know how to start the whole thing off. So after prelims, coming on to mains, cover the basics, GS. I'll deal with all the specific questions that you have, but I think I'll briefly cover up my strategy first. Cover up all the GS that you have. Give extra focus on optional. I think my focus in optional in my first attempt was something that helped me clear mains in the very first attempt. So focus so much on optional. Then essay and ethics was also my strong area since I had a literature background or an English background. And again, coming to interview, I had a lot of peer mocks. I had a lot of mentorship sessions and one-on-ones, which kind of helped me in the first and in this attempt. So I think I'm getting questions. I am from Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, from the southern district of Kerala, Thiruvananthapuram. So and a lot of people are asking me that it is their first attempt in UPSC, 45 days are left, what should be the approach to clear the exam? So in my opinion, prelims is something that requires your mental strength more than any aspect. I think in those years, okay, I'll start once more for all those who have joined now. The team has asked me to start once more. My name is Fairuz and I belong to the Thiruvananthapuram district in Kerala. This has been my 6th attempt at the UPSC and second mains and second interview. My first interview was in my first attempt. After that, I kind of missed prelims in a couple of attempts. I had given 2 CKS attempts in which I missed prelims, and then another 2 attempts which I had not really prepared well, but I had nevertheless given the exam. So this was one dedicated attempt that I planned to give for the UPSC, and I managed to clear it this time. My optional was English literature this time, and I had 270 marks for English literature also. This was also my first attempt with the English optional. Before the time that I gave exam before, my optional was Malayalam literature. And regarding my preparation, I felt that prelims was the toughest of all stages for me because I could not clear multiple prelims in a row, and I understand the pain of aspirants who cannot really clear prelims. Like 2 or 3 prelims have been like people who miss 2 or 3 prelims, so I understand their concern. And my strategy, I think I would rather focus on the prelims preparation aspect, since we also have just 45 days left for the prelims. So in the first attempt, my strategy was kind of different from what I had followed now. In the first attempt, my strategy to clear prelims was follow the PCM classes properly, then focus on the basic test and cover up PYQs and take a lot of test series. I think I practiced around 100 questions in my first attempt, and that kind of helped. But in the subsequent attempts, I did not, I think I gave the same strategy, but I could not clear prelims. I was missing prelims by 2 or 3 marks from the cutoff. So this time my entire focus was on starting early. That was the first thing. Then the second one was to focus on the core subjects like polity, geography, environment and economic. These were the 4 core subjects that I had focused on in this attempt to clear prelims. I made sure that I had practiced multiple questions from these 4 subjects, that any question being asked, I made sure that I'm able to answer those questions. Because I remember in 2024 or 2023 prelims, I had missed a question on money bill. It was a very basic question. Everybody who has read Lakshmikant would know the chapter about money bill and how important it is presented. But what happens in the exam hall is you are tense when you tend to forget or tend to get those, even the basic questions wrong. So my focus was on getting those questions correct, those basic questions correct. So I had specifically focused on these 4 subjects of polity, history, geography, and polity, geography, environment, and economy. I think this kind of helped me a lot in clearing prelims this time. And apart from that, geography was one subject I did not really have a very good foundation on, because I come from a humanities background and I found geography very technical. So for that, I made sure that this is some strategy that I think might not have done by everybody, but it kind of helped me. One thing that I made sure was I made a complete understanding, or I would say I knew the world map by heart. I knew whichever countries in the world map. I took a printout of the world map, the outline map, and I made sure that I knew to mark the countries, whichever countries were present in the world map, like that. And that kind of helped me in understanding the location of many countries. And that also, like, not just countries, volcanoes, lakes, straits, everything that you have in physical geography, the location part is something that I had covered very well. Same thing with Indian geography also. So this had given me a very good base in geography, and that I think had helped me a lot in clearing prelims. Now I think I'll deal with the questions also. So I finished RC PYQs. Should I practice from mocks, coachings, or just revise PYQs? Reading comprehension, okay. Okay, reading comprehension, I would suggest that you practice the questions, the PYQs from 2020 onwards. Okay, and 2020 onwards, it's okay even if you know the answer, but just keep on practicing and try to derive why the UPSC has given such an answer to that question, because it is not something about knowledge. No, they're not testing your knowledge through reading comprehension. It is just about the logic and whatever works, and you cannot really study a reading comprehension, go there and apply it. So you can check for the patterns that are there. That is one option. Then if you take up institute questions, there are chances that not all institute questions will be alike, and not all coaching questions will have the same standard of that as that of UPSC. It will hardly have the same standard as that of UPSC. So what you can do is take it to practice within the time. You should make it a point to cover the reading comprehension question in ideally less than 40 minutes. Whichever coaching paper that you take, try to cover in less than 40 minutes. That is the strategy for reading comprehension. So prelim sources, they were the same through 6 attempts. It was not the same. In the first attempt, one factor that kept me going was that in the first attempt I had cleared prelims. So even when I missed prelims after that, I was sure that if I do something right, I can repeat what I had achieved in the first attempt. This was my major motivational factor. So the basic notes were the same, but one factor that I felt was that I had proper gaps in my basic sources. Like, I didn't know the basics of geography, polity, or economy very well. So in the last attempt or in this attempt, my priority was to study everything properly. Maybe polity I knew, but economy and all, I felt that I lacked the basic conceptual clarity when it came to prelims. It might not have been the same for mains, but it might not have been, it need not be for everybody. I know people who does not clear prelims because they miss out on CSAT, but in my case I was missing out on the GS paper. And one point that I made sure was to revise or to ensure conceptual clarity in the basic subjects like economy, geography, etc. So that kind of helped, and I had invested more time in regarding that areas in the last attempt. So the sources changed. I did not depend on one coaching institute ka material for that matter, apart from the Indian geography text by Fortune IAS. Apart from that, I had diversified my sources. I had made sure that I attended to whatever was available in the market, but chose wisely. I stuck to the PYQs. I revised the PYQs. That was what happened. Okay, I had taken. Okay, is it fine now? The camera, is it fine? Alright, CSAT strategy was to practice maximum question papers possible, not questions but maximum question papers possible. I had also attended a crash course by Shuni IAS. I think it is available in Telegram channels. It is a set of 5 videos of 8 hours each. I think I had attended that, I had purchased that course in 2023 and I had watched that course in 2024 for 2024 prelims and for 2025 prelims. So that helped. I was not very strong with the math part. I did the number system part, and then the remainder theorem. All those parts I made sure that I knew the answers, and the logical reasoning, all those parts were something that I had invested on, but I really did not know how to do the answers for mensuration or questions like that. Even for trigonometry, I did not have really much idea on that. So I invested in number system, remainder theorem, all those areas which gave maximum output or maximum return, and I had also focused on reading comprehension, so that helped for CSAT. But the ultimate strategy should be to practice 2-hour mock papers every now and then, or at least every day nearing the prelims exam, because for CSAT you never know you're going to fail. You always think that the paper will be in your hands, but it is very important to train your brain in such a way that it is able to do a 2-hour paper without fail or without feeling tired in the exam hall. So I particularly made sure that I practice CSAT from 2:30 to 4:30 almost every day in the last 2 months or last 1.5 months before prelims, and that helped. And I made sure I made it a point to attend at least 40-45 questions in all the papers that I had attended. I had scored around 80 to 90, or that was my average scores in the coaching test that I had taken, not more than 100. And the actual exam also I had around 80 marks. So that was the CSAT. With regard to CSAT, that is what I had followed. I was not a pro in maths. I focused on reading comprehension and some amount of maths. Okay, what is mother? I do not understand what that is. Okay, very important question is every question paper pattern will be changed. How do we know which topic is must and which is not important? How do you face that thing? So I have felt that in every question paper there is a pattern change, there are fresh questions, but what remains unchanged is UPSC's idea with respect to, or their focus on the certain areas. So in every question paper there will be polity questions, in every question paper there will be geography questions dealing with the location, in every question paper there will be economic questions dealing with the basics. You should not be missing out on these questions. That is my entire point. In current affairs, for current affairs you cannot really do anything. So that you can you should cover the basic sources. You should make an idea about the schemes. For schemes, I think I particularly relied on this PDF by I think it was a Telegram channel that I found, Hope by Tushar Yadav or somebody. That was the PDF that I followed for schemes with respect to current affairs in mains. I mean in prelims. All right. Okay. Regarding I think I've covered enough with respect to the prelim strategy now. I have spoken both about GS, GS paper and CSAT paper. But regarding the main strategy, for essay paper, since my background is English and I had also been taking essay classes at an institute here in Kerala called Fortune IAS, I was kind of comfortable with essay. I enjoyed reading essays of other people, and essay was my comfort zone. So I wrote essays, and that kind of helped for the essay paper. And coming to GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4, I did not really try to innovate a strategy on my own. My whole point was to follow the test series timetable, to attend the test series on time and cover the portions. I think only that much time is left there between prelims and mains to do the GS part. Since I had switched to English optional in my this attempt, I had started preparing with English optional in 2024 July. So I hardly had any time to invest and value add in the GS part. So my focus was to complete optional before prelims, at least 80% of optional before prelims, and okay, and then focus on the mains part and the interview part. I think I have mentioned about the prelim strategy more than once. I am speaking about the main strategy now. With regard to essay, I told that I have been focusing on the different philosophical codes that UPSC give. I had completely based my preparation on the UPSC PYQs, and I was able to identify patterns with respect to the PYQs that UPSC have with respect to the essay paper. Because if you take the PYQs of the past couple of years, you will understand, especially after 2021, you will understand that they are specifically focusing on certain topics like say opportunities or positivity, ambiguity. So these are the broader keywords that they are focusing on with respect to the essay topics. So my strategy was to build upon that and practice writing essays according to the topic, or find similar quotes according to that topic. And I think my general English literature background had also helped quite a bit with the essay paper. Okay, coming to GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4, I felt that I had not had much time to innovate, and I was hence focusing on the test series or the timetable provided by Fortune IAS for the test series MTS. And I was religious with respect to the MTS. I used to complete all the papers at least towards the end. I think when I started off, I completed around 18 or 17 questions, and then gradually increased it up to 20 questions towards the end in the last full test. This was my like brief strategy for the mains part, GS mains part. And for optional, my priority was to finish the syllabus. I do not know if anybody who has opted English literature is here. So my priority was to complete the optional before prelims in the first time, and practice essay and answer writing part between the prelims and the mains gap. This was my strategy for optional. I had particularly focused on the paper on poetry part with respect to English optional because I found poetry easier than the prose part. So that was done with mains. Mains I did not find it really tough compared to prelims, because prelims was one paper that I found really hard cracking over and over. Mains comparatively was easier for me because it involved a lot of writing. I mean, when I did it, it was not that easy. I definitely had my share of whining, had my share of anxiety, and all through that, my answers weren't turning out perfect. My optional paper gave me shocks because I could not reproduce the answers when I tried to in the prelims mains gap. I would study something on day 1, I would forget that on day 3. This was how the cycle went on. So it required a lot of patience and a lot of self trust, I would say. Which would have helped. I was not perfect in those aspects. Okay. Then with regard to interview, I think my interview was towards the end, and my strategy was to cover up current affairs on one side, do peer mocks on the other side, and I also did attend a lot of not a lot, but some panel mock interviews. So all 3 strategies combined had helped. I had also specifically focused on English literature part, but I was not asked much questions from that area. I also had a peer group with people who had cleared with English literature optional. So all 3 of us would sit there and discuss questions every day. Peer mock is the single greatest part that helped with respect to interview, the speaking practice, etc. So this is my brief strategy. I think I would go on answering the questions now. Please, if the questions aren't answered yet, please do type it again in the chat box so that we'll address it one by one. Okay, my revision strategy for prelims and what I learned from my past mistakes. My revision strategy for prelims was to revise the basics thoroughly. To revise the basics, I would say that I had made short notes from all the questions that I got wrong in the test series. Like I did not, when I took a test series, if I made a question wrong, I think I would mark it in that particular paper itself. I took all the test series in the offline mode this time. I used to take printouts of question papers, and I used to mark the wrong questions there. I used to highlight the wrong questions there, and I would revise them. Especially this specifically helped for current affairs, because current affairs I really did not read magazines religiously during my preparation. I did not read monthly magazines or weekly magazines when it came to current affairs. My priority was to focus on current affairs specific test series. Many institutes have that current affairs test series 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 test series along with their PTS. So I would do that. I would also fish out topics like international relations test series, agriculture test series, budget test series, etc. All these are current affairs based, and I would keep on revising them multiple times so that I knew that all these things happened. And with regard to prelims, I would not say that newspaper had helped me. It was not of much help with regard to prelims. It did definitely help with regard to interview and mains to some extent, but for prelims I did not really know how to integrate newspaper to the current affairs that I had done, and I always ended up reading the wrong news, and another different news came for the exam. So I would not say that I had a direct relation from newspaper for current affairs with respect to prelims. I think test series and revision had helped me Then places in news specifically looking up for all those YouTube videos, random videos had helped me for prelims. My revision was also the same for prelims. Okay, backup option while preparing for UPSC. It is good if you have a backup option. If you are taking more than 2 or 3 years, I would say that this exam deserves 2 years of dedicated preparation. 1 year you are doing the classroom course or PCM course if you are doing, and 1 year you would be giving the exam if you clear that prelims in that attempt. But if you do not clear prelims in your attempt after you take the after you have taken the classroom course or after you've taken the PCM, if you do not clear prelims, then again you are moved or you'll have to wait for another year. Okay, then again if you do not clear prelims in your second attempt, you'll have to wait for another year. So all this while you have not started or you have not made yourself visible before UPSC, and that in itself kind of caused a very big dip in your self-esteem. In that scenario, you might need a backup option. But my primary suggestion would be to just give 2 dedicated attempts to this exam and then start working or start preparing with a backup plan. Like you can also prepare for, one option is to prepare for other related exams like SSC, state PSCs, etc. Then in my case, I had also focused on clearing the UGC net. I was also trying for JRF, and I thought that if it doesn't work out this time, I would go to colleges and teach as an assistant professor. This was my backup plan. I had also planned to do PhD sometime in life because I had also completed PG during my preparation. So this was my backup plan. I would not say that you need not have a backup plan, because at the end of 6 or 7 years, if you do not clear this attempt, you're back to ground zero, and that is not a practical strategy with respect to your life. You need to have a backup option, and it can be ideally something that is related to your background, your skill set, etc. I was not able to clear any state PSC or SSC CGL exams because I did not think that it suited my aptitude. My aptitude was something that had particularly suited the best for UPSC, because I was confident in the essay paper, the interview part, or the ethics paper. It involved a lot of writing. I was confident with the language. So all these factors had helped me clear UPSC better than the state PSCs or any other related exam. So it depends on what you are strong in, your backup plan, but you need to have a backup plan, of course. You cannot really move on with blind motivation that you'll clear the exam someday. That I would not recommend that personally, because it creates a lot of mental health hazards also. So okay, if you are a 2030 aspirant, this is 2026. If you are planning to give your first attempt in 2030, I think you will be in college now, or okay, you should be in college now, or you will be in the last year of school now. You can focus on the newspaper, but you can focus on building a general knowledge about anything. I would suggest that you watch news daily, you read the newspapers daily, and make a basic understanding about everything that happens around you. That is the only thing that you can do right now, which gives you a strong foundation when you start preparing generally for UPSC. And if you have a basic foundation about whatever has happened in the history, civics, and geography texts in your school standards, if you do not have that, you can go back and visit them. But if you have them, just focus on the news. A lot of things are happening around the world right now, and even by reading the newspapers, you will understand a lot of things. I would say that you just focus on the newspapers, maybe decide on your optional and start working on that. Okay, do you read both newspaper and monthly? I honestly did not get time to read both newspapers and monthly magazines, and trust me, I'm not gonna lie here. I had even missed reading newspapers on many days between the prelims and the mains, or even 1 month before prelims, because we had to prioritize. We had to focus on we had to focus on our prelims portions. We did not really have time to read the newspaper in a very detailed manner. In between prelims, mains, or just before prelims. So my strategy was, I had entirely skipped monthly magazines. I did not, people find it of use, many people find it of use, but for me I felt that it was another current affairs material. So I rather integrated current affairs from the test series part, and for mains I also depended on the test series key. I did not really depend on magazines for current affairs. I also quoted certain case studies, and for example, I got them from the newspaper, so that was also integrated. Okay, Hindi medium, I have no clue because I did English medium and I have barely any idea about Hindi medium. I don't think I'm the right person to answer that. Choosing the optional, I think it depends a lot on your aptitude. It depends a lot on your background and your interest, and the probability or the possibility of covering that in that short span. And again, coaching is also a very important factor. You need to seek guidance and help. If you have that, it will be easier for you to cover the optional syllabus. I have been preparing for 7 years now. But again, and I was not preparing for the entire 7 years at a stretch. I had started preparation. I had done my PG in between. I got married in between. So all these things happened. I was just giving attempts. But for the last year, I mean, for this attempt, I had given a dedicated 2-year preparation. One year for preparation and 1 year for the exam. So that was one solid attempt that I had given. Before that, I was not entirely doing preparation alone. Okay, I did not understand the question about reject candidate on father name mismatch in DV stage. What is DV stage? I am not able to figure out that. And UPSC does not really reject candidates. They'll definitely ask for discrepancy certificates, and they'll definitely give you a chance to prove yourself in front of them. They would not really reject candidates like that. What is the right time to prepare? Right time to prepare should, there is no right time to prepare. It depends on if you are ready. It's like asking somebody what is the right time to marry or what is the right time to have a kid. It is when you are ready. It is when you feel that you can prepare or you can take the odds of this exam. I think that is the right time to start preparing, and you should be able to enjoy the process in some aspect or the other. So if you feel like you can enjoy the process, if you are curious to understand whatever is happening around the country, so that then is the right time to prepare. It also has another aspect, like you'll have to have a lot of emotional support from your family. You'll have to take a lot of time. So that is also there. Even when you feel like you are at the right time, I know that a lot of family emergencies might come in front, health emergencies might come in front, all of which might limit your preparation time. And when it comes to UPSC, it is a competitive exam, and it values you on the basis of how much you have prepared and how much you have written. So it's very important to make everything together, gather everything together, and sit down and prepare. That is very important. Okay, past mistakes on preparation in prelim stage, I think I can answer that. So first mistake was in my first attempt, I had particularly focused on doing the number of question papers. I think I had done 100 question papers in my first attempt, and that had kind of helped. Okay, so in my in my subsequent attempts, my focus was on doing that 100 question papers or reaching the target. And while reaching the target, I had forgotten how to revise or how to integrate those question papers into what UPSC really wants. My blind focus was on doing more and more question papers. I would not say that it had not helped at all, because I had been missing prelims cutoff by 2 or 3 marks. So that is not a very big leap from the cutoff. So I was almost close enough on every attempt, but I was not really clearing the paper. In the last attempt, I had also specifically focused on giving quality preparation with respect to the content. Okay, I made sure that it was not in the number of question papers that I was able to do, but in how strong that I knew the content. And with respect to subjects like economy or even geography, I had invested more time. Like for example, economy, there were a lot of concepts which I had no clear clarity on. For example, the chapter on money market or the chapter on bonds, capital market, etc. So I made sure that I had Googled, I had used ChatGPT for every particular term that I did not know. I searched up the term, I understood, I asked ChatGPT to illustrate that term so that I can explain it to somebody. So this was one investment in conceptual clarity that I had made in the last attempt, and I think that had helped. I think I was lacking conceptual clarity in the previous attempts, which pulled me down from clearing prelims. So that is with regard to prelims. So okay, I think I make notes and read books so that we remember content. I think the notes that you make, there are 2 types of notes. One thing is when you are reading, you try to scribble it down so that your brain is kept active, so that you are not doing a passive reading. That is one type of note making. And the next type is the notes that you make to revise. So I had done both type of note making. There are these notes that I make while I read, and I might not ever come back to that notes, because those notes are meant for engaging my brain while I read. So that was the first type of notes. I did not come back to that for revision. But there were the second type of notes, which I think I often revisited and came back, and these were concise and precise. Like for example, GS1 I had a certain set of data, or GS3 I had a certain set of data. This was my idea of note making, and this was something that helped me. I was not a like I was not I had not invested much in note making. I had both digital and offline medium of notes, but in the last attempt I had particularly focused on writing things down. I have another question regarding English optional, a good option. I think every optional is good, and the only thing that determines its goodness is how well you can cover the optional. Every optional has its own advantages and negatives. English, for that matter, is an optional with a very wide syllabus, a very vast syllabus, and it takes a lot of time to cover the optional properly, and you also need time to write. You should not be just reading stories and sitting, but you should also practice answer writing. That is very important. And when it comes to English optional, there are hardly any coaching centers or coaching guidance available in the market. The ones that are available are very pricey, and you do not have any test series like it is there for other options like sociology or PSIR. So that is one disadvantage of choosing English optional. Luckily for me, I had a friend who had given English optional and scored pretty good marks. She could not clear the exam, but she had attended the interview in 2023. She was there to help me. She was there to curate questions and give me test series, which I practiced in my prelims mains gap. Okay, any other questions? I have been preparing for 7 years. I think I had addressed that before. I particularly do not know about any mains oriented coaching classes. What I'm aware of is that if you do not clear prelims, many institutes have a program like Restart or a program focused on answer writing, in which they cover the main syllabus, and they give you a lot of insights on the main syllabus. Particularly, you can clear the main syllabus, so that might help. Then okay, 30 years. See, you can start as long as UPSC permits you to write the exam. I think you should go for it in order to avoid the regret of missing it later on in life. So if you're 30 or 31, you should sit for this exam. As long as you are permissible under the UPSC standards, you should be giving this exam no matter what, if you have a desire for it. Okay. Geography specific strategy. I was somebody who found geography very technical and very hard for me, and I think I had focused on a lot of geography coaching classes by different institutes over the years. I think I had watched Vision IAS, Vajiram, then Unacademy, a lot of videos. I had watched all those videos in line, but I do not think that anything stayed in my mind for more than say 2 months or 3 months. So every time I started my prelims, geography was one subject that I found very tough and very hard to deal with. So this time in the last attempt, I particularly focused on starting off with geography. I started off with geography. I covered the entire syllabus of geography the first thing in December when I started prelims. And specific strategy, I would say to focus on the map. Map study is very important. Apart from the basic concepts, I particularly made sure that I knew the map on and off thoroughly well. So that was one strategy that I had focused on. Okay. Economy, I would suggest that you pick up concepts. If you do not know the concepts, use ChatGPT, understand the concepts, and ensure conceptual clarity in economics. It helps to a very large extent. Okay, analyzing PYQs is very important. What we mean when we say analyze PYQs is, imagine it is a question on environment. You have 4 options. So you need to understand that UPSC has this particular area in focus. So you need to read more about all the other options. That is the first thing. You need to see what possible question can come from that area. And these are the way. And again, if it is for economy, you need to be sure about that areas from which they ask questions. That is one way. If you go through the past PYQs, you'll understand that there are a lot of areas that are favorites for UPSC. There are a lot of confusing areas like money bill, finance bill, and then there are concepts like procedure established by law, due process of law. All these stuff which are hard for everybody or confusing for everybody. You need to have conceptual clarity in that with respect to PYQs. That is what you can do for PYQs. Yeah, I was not somebody who had a lot of positivity in me, I would be honest there. And the final punch in the last attempt, I was not really bothered about clearing the exam, but I was bothered about clearing prelims. So all I wanted was to clear prelims because I had been missing prelims throughout. So my focus was on clearing prelims no matter what, and I kind of had a self-belief that if I clear prelims this time, I would find my name in the final list. I was of course expecting a better rank, but I was kind of sure that I would find my name in the final list if I clear prelims. That was one motivating factor that kept me going. And for clearing prelims, I had dedicatedly given, I think I started off in December. So December, or by January, I had completely shifted towards prelims. So Jan, Feb, March, April, May, 5 months, 4.5 months I had dedicatedly given towards prelims because I did not want to miss prelims at this stage at any cost. So this was my strategy for prelims, and I wanted to clear prelims. That was the first thing that I wanted to do. And once I cleared prelims, mains, and the interview, it went in a flow. That is what I think. Okay. How to be a regular consistently. So I was somebody who depended on the reading room. So I would wake up, and no matter what, I would pack my bag and go to the reading room by 9 in the morning, come back by 9 or 8 in the evening. So this was my routine throughout the preparation days to be consistent. So I was focused on doing my daily targets every day. I had a daily planner in which I would write what all I should do. And honestly, I could not cover everything that I had written in the daily planner, but I made it a point to write the question that the strategies or the to-do list in the daily planner, and every day I went to the reading room. I definitely had friends in the reading room, so that I was focused on doing the daily targets and doing those on time than focusing on the final result. So that kind of helped for me to be consistent. And not every days were perfect. There were days when I did not feel like studying. There were days even between, I think even a week before mains, I think I had a complete burnout a week before mains. I could not study anything. I did not feel like studying. So all this happens. It's completely normal for all that to happen. It is. They are just testing if you can move forward. I think in the last 2 months you should shift, or you should at least try to shift towards morning study. If you do not find it practical at all, you can do it in the night. But ideally 9:30, 11:30, 2:30, 4:30 for test series is something that can help you tune your mind towards the prelims in the last attempt or in the last month. Okay, again, going back home and taking online coaching or staying here in Delhi and offline coaching, I think everything depends on the study or the method that you have focused all this life, all this while in your life. So for me, I would tell you what worked for me. So I was somebody who would study alone in my 10th grade. I did not really do much of combined study in my 10th and my 12th boards and in my college days. So combined study was not something that I was very comfortable with when it came to prelims and mains, and that worked out pretty well. And I knew that this was my mode of study when it came to UPSC, because this was something that had worked for me in my 10th and 12th. And I was somebody who was happy when I was regular in my studies. So I made it a point to be regular. I made it a point to quantify things. Like I measured the quality of my study with respect to the quantity of hours that I could put in. So this was my point or way of studying. So if you find online coaching fine for you, I do not really find online coaching fine for me, because it gives me I have a lot of attention deficit, and that gets worsened in online coaching. But offline coaching definitely works for me. Whatever works for you, I think you should be following that with regard to all the other factors. Yeah, I think I've given the guidance earlier. The sixth attempt cast strategy was to focus on prelims first. The mains and the interview part came later on, and it went on in a flow. Academic backup plan. You can have an academic backup plan. You can have any backup plan that you want, because UPSC is definitely an uncertain exam. But again, there are people who clear without a backup plan. We do not know who clears, or we do not know the mandate by which somebody clears. We do not know if somebody clears because they have a backup plan or they do not have a backup plan. There is nothing that affects your clearing the exam, but I think you should have a peace of mind when you do this process. You should have a peaceful, calm nature when you do the entire process, and for that, whatever helps. If it's a backup plan, that. If it is some other activity, then invest in that. All that helps. Whatever helps in creating a backup or creating a peaceful mind will help you in clearing UPSC. I have not really depended much on coaching or the coaching classes, I was somebody who focused so much on self-study. I had definitely taken PCM courses in my attempts, but beyond that, I feel that it is self-study that worked for me. It differently works for different people, and I definitely depended on online courses. I mean, online videos, not courses entirely. I would Google up, or I would search in YouTube a video on covering history or covering geography or places in use. This was my strategy. I did not really depend on a course per se to cover the topic. So I do not really have much suggestions on the online and the offline course suggestions. I have not given any RCA exam. Luck does work in this exam. It works to a great extent because when it comes to the interview, you need to have a very good interview board. You need to have like the good questions being asked to you, and you need to be able to answer. That is with respect to the interview. When it comes to the main stage, objectively there are papers at value, and then there are subjective papers like the essay, in which the subjectivity of the person reading might affect your score. Luck does affect this exam, but I would say that the effort that you put in, the hard work that you have given, nothing can match the luck. If you are 10 on 10 with respect to your hard work, if you are 10 on 10 with respect to the efforts, and you have been consistent throughout, luck would favor you. That is something that I can say it from my personal opinion. You might not be extremely lucky, but you will be lucky with regard to the efforts that you put in. And UPSC for sure respects your efforts, and it gives you back for the genuine efforts that you put in for this exam. I have no clue of what happens in DU. Since you said it's challenging, I think if you are ready for the exam, you can give the exam. But if you are not, you should not be giving it this time. I do not really know what happens in DU. I am somebody from Kerala, and I really do not have much clue. The only 2 times that I've been in Delhi was for the UPSC interview that I had. Apart from that, I have no clue about the academics or anything that goes in DU or your academic pressure that is going there. But if you feel like you are ready to give an attempt, you can give. If you clear, well and good. If you do not, at least you can learn from it. That is my suggestion. Ground reality of UPSC is that it favors people who are strong-hearted, who have self-trust, who are confident enough, and who are ready to face the challenges. And I have always felt that UPSC does not want to test you on the basis of your knowledge with regard to polity, economy, history, geography, or any subject that you can Google for that matter, because as officers you would not be needing any of that. But what matters to UPSC is that, are you ready to give in your 100% even after failures? Are you ready to lock up in a room and study even after failures? Or are you ready to push back all obstacles and do it? That kind of a resilience is what UPSC is looking for. And I think that is a ground reality, because it tests your intangible values through a tangible medium. And that I think is the magic of UPSC. I have not been to sociology coaching. My optional was English literature, and for that matter, I have no idea about sociology coaching. It depends on how much time you have to prepare. How much time you can invest in UPSC during your PhD preparation. So that you will have to invest prelims mains gap. In prelims mains gap, you will have to invest a lot of time with regard to that. And I think it depends on the individual caliber each person has. The time that a person invests has a lot to do with their individual caliber. Okay, mains preparation, you can take up the syllabus, and GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4, you can take up the syllabus. It is closely related to prelims preparation. You can take up the topics line by line, and you can prepare notes on that. That is the easiest way. But again, you might find it very overwhelming, and you can depend on these guides by Prahar or these combined books by Shunya for mains. Alright, any other questions? If you are in college and you want to start UPSC, focus on newspapers. Focus on newspapers, whatever is happening around in the world, and make it a point to not miss the newspapers even one day. Make it a point to have to be well read with respect to international relations or areas like that. That kind of helps and gives a solid foundation when it comes to UPSC, or whenever you are ready to prepare for UPSC in the final year. Unpredictable, uncertain, I do not have any suggestion for that. I think see, even when it is uncertain, if you are ready to move forward and give your 100% rather than worrying about the uncertainty, then this exam is for you. Not that you need to point out the uncertainty in the exam. The exam is for sure uncertain, unpredictable, but it also tests your ability and resilience to type through all that uncertainty. If you are ready to do that, then UPSC has a place for you. I did follow the Indian Express, the Delhi edition, the PDF version. I did not read through all the pages. I made it a point to read the editorial page and the explained page almost every day. There were days when I missed the newspapers, but I came back to that. Once in a while, I came back to that. So, the Indian Express was one newspaper that I had followed consistently. And map practice, the only way that I practice map was to take the outline picture of all maps, outline printout of all maps that are available, and then mark places on my own. So if it is a map on, if I want to study the mountains or the volcanoes around the earth, I would take up a map, I would mark the location of the volcano in that mountain. This is, I mean, in the map. This is how I studied geography particularly. I had I think I had around 20 sets of maps after I had done all the marking. Okay, any advice for answering highly analytical questions? Is it with regard to prelims or mains? I don't think they would ask what you were doing in the last 9 years, Aman Thakur, because see, if you have been doing your dad's business for the last 9 years and if you have a desire for attempting UPSC, I think it is a valid enough desire to take forward. And if you have been doing something in the last 9 years, it is a very, like any job I feel is honorable enough to be presented. You were doing something in the last 9 years. You are not, you are not wasting the last 9 years. You are contributing something to the world in the last 9 years, and that experience, that knowledge would have definitely helped your growth as a person over the last 9 years. So I do not think that should be a reason that should be pushing you backward. Yeah, you can read online. Many Telegram channels have these newspapers, Hindu, Indian Express. You need to subscribe to them. You need to pay, I think, 30 or 100 rupees for 3 months and you get access to them. So that works. So mains pay analytical questions. See, to some point you need to be strong with the basics. You need to understand any question that you get for mains. You need to understand from which keyword of that syllabus is that question from. So mapping it with that keyword and mapping it with whatever has happened, whatever the keyword shows, will give you an analytical idea about how to answer the mains question. And even if you do not know anything about that question, you will somehow figure out the basics or the background of the question, and you can manage with the background. So that kind of helps with respect to mains. I think I had answered the question about the third year maths honor student at Hansraj College DU having a doubt about going back home or taking online coaching. It depends on whatever you prefer. If you find online coaching comfortable, if you find preparing from the comforts of your home rewarding, you should go home and prepare. If you feel like you need a peer group to prepare well, you should stay in Delhi and prepare. I do not really know you, so it completely depends on personal preferences that you have. Okay, that is what I feel. SCC Cricket 9187. Okay, I would prefer, at this point I would prefer self-study. That is because I had done an offline coaching back when I was doing a PCM course. I was not very regular with the classes. I had taken some classes. Online coaching, I personally felt that I was not able to give in 100% of my attention because it distracted me. Sitting in front of a screen every day distracted me, so I would not really sign up for an online coaching ever. But I gave up for offline coaching. I had built a peer group, I had friends in the institute, so that was something that kept me motivated in the initial years. So offline coaching, if you ask me. Again, child getting attracted to multiple resources due to FOMO. I think that is where UPSC really tests your decision making skills. So you know that in your syllabus you need to cover all these aspects. You know that they are not testing your knowledge, so you need to have a decision making skill whereby you can choose one source and be confident that whatever UPSC asks you can manage with that source. It can be any current affairs material. If they ask something out of that current affairs material and if you do not know, you really cannot read or all the current affairs materials existing in the market and be thorough with that. So your FOMO should be based on the fact, or should go on the fact, that whatever UPSC asks you have studied. Okay, whatever is meant for the exam you have covered. So if you cover the basics, if you cover the PYQs, and if you do the questions, you will have that FOMO removed to a very large extent. So okay, for answering how and not why, please suggest something. I think I was somebody who had the same problem. I was very strong with my facts, like how something happened. But if you ask me why something happened, the analytical skill was something I did not really have. So you can probably build a framework, like for example, if it's a historical question, I mean, if it's a question from GS1, if it's a question from for mains from GS1 history, you can build a framework, like what were the historical factors, what were the social factors that were prevalent during that time, which could have possibly led to this problem, what were the geographical reasons in the area which would have, in which the problem would have arisen, what were the political factors running in that period. So in that way, if you create frameworks, you will at least know the points that which you can touch upon. So in that way you can answer a why. I think most of the whys should happen in your head first before it comes to the paper. So you need to think why in order to write why. So that is one way of dealing with that. Yeah, okay. Your question is valid. 200, 300 students in a class, so sitting in the back and seeing from screen. So the coaching that I went to, I did not have 200, 300 students. It was less than 100 students, and we had a direct interaction with the faculty present there. And in the coaching institute that I am teaching now, again in the same institute, not in the same institute, again in that institute, we have a direct interaction with the students. We make sure that we see all the students there. So again, if you feel that you're anyway depending on the screen, you can go back and do the online coaching. There are a lot of people who depend on the online coaching and save a lot of time and clear the exam. So that is what I said, that it depends on your preference. If you're not from humanities background, you can start off with the 11th and the 12th NCRTs. If you find those NCRTs very tough and not able to understand, you can then go back to the 6th NCRT, because for polity and all, you need not really have to read the 6th standard NCRT. It's very basic, but for history you might need. Yeah, if you I think adding reasons additionally in your notes might not help. I think whatever questions that you get, you need to be able to think in a particular way. And in this era, I think if you follow some test series, almost all the questions get covered in that. There wouldn't be any new reason that is not being covered in any of these. So if you cover a lot of questions, I think that would also help. Okay, I was not somebody who lived in Delhi, so I do not have an idea about living in Delhi. There might be distractions, but I was thankful that I had prepared from the comforts of my home. My book list was very basic. For polity, I depended on Lakshmikant. For history, Spectrum. For geography, the NCRTs and the White Book of Fortune. For environment, I had depended on different test series, not any book particularly. I think this was my book list for prelims. Very short, very crisp. For economy, again, I depended on the test series. For the basics, I did not really have a book to learn from. For mains, I hardly had any books. I depended on making notes from the materials provided by the institute. For optionals, I depended on all the guides that are available in the market. I think you can see a couple of them over here. My book list was very short and crisp. I had invested more time in making notes and reading the books that were already in the market. Okay, I have not taken any online course like mentorship. I had not taken signed up for anything. So I had only taken an offline mentorship at Fortune IAS in this attempt for mains, prelims and interview. I had not signed up for any online courses. So I have no clue about that. Suggestions to avoid informal language and answer writing. I think if you focus on reading the Indian Express or newspapers like that every day from now on, you will have a strong foundation by the time you're writing mains. That is one probable way to address that. And the vocabulary that you need for the mains comes from the test series or the keys that you learn for the mains. So that is also one way to address that. For making the foundation strong, you can depend on ensuring that, see, it is a very subjective question. How do you make the foundation strong? You can start off with the basics. You can then take a test series and find out if you are getting the questions correct. If you are getting the questions correct, your foundation is strong. If you are getting it wrong, you can go back to the text and understand why it is getting wrong, and then that again you can particularly revise later. So that is one way of making your foundation strong. You can start reading the newspaper from day one of your preparation. It is not necessarily after polity, history, geography, etc. One channel that I followed in my initial years were the Ravo's IAS news analysis, which was there. I think that helped me cover the newspaper pretty much in a good way. Yes, I used a lot of AI during preparation, especially in cases of economy or in concepts like economy. When I could not understand a concept, I gave it to ChatGPT and asked it to illustrate in simple terms. That was one way of using the AI. Apart from that, I think I had also generated different quotes and examples for ethics and essay papers using AI. Okay. See, manage or combining coaching notes, standard books, and NCRTs. You do not really have to revise everything even to the last point. What you should make sure is that what you're trying to revise from all these papers is the basics. So if you're strong with the basics, if you're strong with the concept, you do not have to really go back and revise the concept. If you lack some concept, you read the notes first. You're unable to recollect the concept. You go back to the standard book, and then still you have a doubt, you go back to the NCRTs. That is how it should be going. Yes, probably yes. Brain fog during long sessions of answering. It is not brain fog. In some questions I would take and I would not be able to recollect even one point, and the page would still be blank. That was one problem that I had faced in my mains preparation. But I think I took a break whenever I felt a brain fog or whenever I felt tired. There was no point sitting and crying in front of a white paper thinking that the points would come to my mind automatically. So I took a break and came back to it later on. I specifically found it with regard to mains, the brain fog part, with respect to the optional papers. I have not been to Mugachi Nagar for coaching, so I don't think I am somebody who can comment on that. Is there any other question, or we'll wind up for today? What to do and what not to do while studying at home. I think it is important that you have a closed environment wherein you're not distracted by whatever is happening in the home. Like you wake up, you walk around in the night dress for a while, and then you lag and come back and sit at the table by 10. That should not be the case if you're preparing from home. Like you are in a reading room, or like you travel to a reading room or library, you need to have an environment or change environment which would push you to study. So that is something that you should have when you're preparing from home. What did you do last month? Last month, I think I was chilling last month. Oh, okay. Before prelims, I would say I was revising, but the last month after results, I was chilling. You can start the preparation you can start the preparation with newspaper possibly, then read the basics. If you are joining a coaching class, that would be helpful because it gives you a direction. Not that you need to learn entirely whatever is being taught to you, but it gives you a preparation on what all should study. I think CSAT I had addressed in a very detailed manner in the beginning of the session. Preparation, it depends. 1 whole year of preparation this exam takes to clear. You take this 1 whole year to clear this exam. Before that, it depends on where you start with respect to your foundation. I had taken 7 years to clear this exam. There are people who clear it in 2 years or less than that. So it depends from one person to another. Okay, I do not know about the comparison of Hindi medium selection or English medium selection. I am not unaware of how that selection is low, why the selection is low, or if at all there is any relativity there. Um, I don't think AI will replace all the government jobs, at least in the near future in India. AI will replace some tasks, but you need somebody, a human in the loop to drive all that. So I don't think AI is going to replace the government jobs. All right. Okay, if you solely prepare from online coaching, you won't be able to identify what happens to your peers. I think you will have mentorship sessions, and in some institutes they often provide ranks. So if you feel like you'll have a FOMO, you should maybe go for offline coaching. So again, that is what I said, that it completely depends on what your priorities are. If you are planning to give UPSC in 2028, maybe start off with your optional. It is 2026 now. In 2 years, if you are planning to start off with your optional, do the basic coverings, do mains notes, and then maybe take a test series from an institute. Or if you have no clue about what to do, sign up for a coaching. Okay, if we do not have any questions, we'll wind up. Any fresh questions? Learning facts but terrible with connecting current affairs. All right, I think see, it is different. What I think we all have different capabilities. Somebody would be good at learning facts, somebody would be good at analyzing, and you do not have to really compare yourself, or you do not have to excel yourself in all the fields to clear UPSC. If you are good at learning facts, then there are questions in prelims and mains that would work in your favor, and if you are good at analyzing, then there are questions that would work in your favor as well. So if you are good at learning facts, you learn facts. Like for example, for me, I was not very good at analyzing. So my point was to learn all the facts possible that I can. My point was to learn all the places in the map as much as I can and use that logic to analyze things, especially with questions with regard to geography. So in that aspect, I think that would help you in one way or the other. You do not have to be a master in both. I am right now going live from Kerala. Okay, I have prepared, my entire preparation was from Kerala, so I do not really have much say about preparing from Delhi or taking coaching in Mumbai, Nagar, etc. Along with or after offline coaching, how much time do you self-study? I think my offline coaching classes were around 4 hours per day, so I tried to manage a little bit of optional preparation, current affairs, and then figuring out the whole thing in itself took 2 or 3 hours in the initial attempt. So maybe 10 hours in everything. I started the preparation in 2019 after graduation. Okay. So if that is it, we'll wind up for now. Current affairs, you should focus on the newspapers. You can focus on whatever is happening across the world. You can maybe watch shows like Vantage by First Post. All that helps. I had completely given, I think current affairs I had given 10% or 20% of the time. Static portion I had given 80% of the time in the last month before prelims. If you have enough time, start off with optional coaching and then do GS coaching. If you do not have time, take everything together. Preparation for interview basically depends on your personality, basically depends on where you come from, but most importantly, you need to invest on your speaking skills and do peer mocks a lot. Yeah, it is common to not understand the language of Indian Express, but at least it is easier than the Hindu. Hindu is much tougher to understand in my opinion. Indian Express is fairly easier. So whichever works for you, you can follow that. So if there is any other questions, if there isn't any other questions, I think we'll wind up for now. I belong to Kerala. I think I had mentioned that initially. I belong to Tirunelveli in Kerala. when you're taking PCM course or when you're taking coaching, it is very difficult to manage everything, study everything on the day, or to be abreast on everything. So it's very difficult the first time that you're taking coaching, because you're consuming a lot of content. I think that is one of the most difficult phases in your preparation overall. But you need to be patient, you need to be kind to yourself, you need to invest a certain set of hours every day, so that that works. Humanities student, to overcome CSAT, you should practice maths. There is no easy shortcut to clear it CSAT other than practicing maths and logical reasoning. My revision looked like I made sure that I was able to reproduce the concepts in my head, like in subjects like say for example environment, in subjects like in topics like global warming, or in topics like solar cloud injection. These concepts, I made sure that I was able to reproduce that concept in my head. And geoengineering, I made sure that I knew what geoengineering meant, I knew how they do that cloud injection process. So this was one way of revision. I was mentioning about examples. So I made sure that I knew how the concept worked, especially again for concepts in economy like bonds or capital market, that helped. I didn't write on a separate paper. I used to reproduce that. I did not really write on a separate paper. I just reproduced that in my head and saw if I could really reproduce that. Alright, I think we can wind up for now if there aren't any other questions. I have already crossed the given time. My experience, what to do and what not to do, was to trust the process, stay consistent, and have a lot of self-confidence and self-worth. Trust your strategy and trust your process. Nobody else will trust you and have faith in you if you do not have. That is very important in this process. That is something that I had lacked all these years, and I think that is something that had taken a lot of years for me to clear this exam. I did not have the self-confidence, affirmation and all. So I think everybody should have that, and it makes the process much more easier. I prepared from my hometown, I prepared from my home. I also had taken a reading room in the coaching institute for a systemic process. Okay. Alright people, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for asking questions. And yeah, parental and society pressure is very difficult to clear. Again, I am not somebody who can answer on that, because I was somebody who succumbed to the parental pressure. I got married in between. So I would not say that I overcame the parental pressure, because for me, post-marriage, everything was easier. I did not have to really prove before people that I am unmarried and I'm a girl chasing her dreams. I did not have to prove, or I did not have to answer such questions. So I did not really overcome the pressures. I was somebody who succumbed to them, but I think it all turned out for the good for me, because I felt it was more easier and liberating for me after marriage. All right. UP lower PCCS means, or okay, I do not really have an idea about Uttar Pradesh lower PCS mains or proper PCS prelims. I have no clue about the exam that you are speaking about. I have only given UPSC exam and I have only cleared that exam. I could not clear the state PSC exams, so I don't think I am the right person to guide you on that. Best piece of advice is to have trust in yourself, and maybe to practice a lot of delayed gratification. You are not going to get the results of the process very soon. I mean, if you study today, it is not that you are being rewarded tomorrow. So you need to have a mindset which would help you to run in the long term. That is very important. Alright then, thank you all. I think I'll end up the live session now. Thank you so much.